Fantastic. Thank you so much. Well, welcome everyone again. Happy Tuesday afternoon from wherever you are joining us from around the beautiful state of Washington. My name is Sarah Weiss. Weiss is nice. Hopefully you remember me that way through our conversation today. I'm the Director of College Access Initiatives at the Washington Student Achievement Council, and I'm so excited that you're all here today. I would like to have my colleagues who are joining introduce themselves as well this afternoon, starting with Christina Winstead.
Hello. Welcome to these updates. I'm so excited for y'all to learn more about our College Bound program. My name is Christina Winstead. I'm the Assistant Director for Outreach, and I work with the 12th Year Campaign.
Great. And Pablo, would you mind introducing yourself?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Pablo Rodriguez, he, him pronouns. I am the program coordinator for our College Access Initiatives.
Fantastic. Thanks, Pablo. Ben.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ben Lopez. I use he, they pronouns, and I am the program associate helping out with the Otterbot texting platform improvement project we're working on.
Cool. Thanks, Ben. And again, welcome to the team. Ben is our newest staff member at week 3 today. Kathy, would you mind introducing yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Kathy Pham, and I'm a program associate for College Bound Scholarship Outreach. Thank you for being here.
Great. Thanks, Kathy. Rochelle.
Hello, my name is Rochelle Wise, and I am the program specialist for College Bound. Most of you probably see my name in the emails that we correspond with, so welcome today. It's good to see you all here.
Thanks, Rochelle. Fantastic. Sean, please.
Hey all, my name is Sean Moran. I use he, him pronouns, and I am the data analyst for CAI and work with a lot of you with your portal accounts. Hope you enjoy today.
Great. Thanks for being here, Sean. And the finally, but not last but not least for the Wasac team, Sam. Sam, are you there? Well, I'll introduce Sam for him. He might be having some technical problems this afternoon. But Sam, are you there, Sam? There you go. Can see you now.
I'm having internet issues. If you hear me quick, great. My name is Sam Washington. Sorry about that. I'm a program associate with the Washington Student Achievement Council. I support College Bound side things as manager of Otterbot text platform, and then I also support Christina in the 12th Year Campaign doing financial aid completion support as well as this today.
Yeah, so thanks, Sam. A little choppy on the internet there, but again, Sam works with our Otterbot program, the texting platform, which you'll learn more about, as well as with the 12th Year Campaign with Christina. And now I'm so excited to have our colleagues from the College Success Foundation, Washington College Access Network join us this afternoon because they're such critical partners in working together with all of you and us around College Bound and financial aid completion. Tracy, would you mind saying hi?
Hello, everyone. My name is Tracy Janet Gasca, and I am the College Bound Regional Officer serving the Northwest Coastal.
Great, thanks, Tracy. And Carrie, are you on?
Yep, I was able to jump back on. So
perfect.
I'm also having some internet issues this morning, so really hoping it holds out. I'm Carrie Morrison, College Bound Regional Officer with the College Success Foundation, covering the Northeastern and North Central regions. And I've been with CSF for about 2.5 years now. And I always enjoy working with our Wasac colleagues. So very excited to be here today. Thanks so much, Sarah.
Yeah, great. Thanks. And so you'll hear from some of those folks later this afternoon as we kind of walk through the presentation, but also answer questions later this afternoon. We do not plan to present for the whole time that this webinar is going on. I'll tell you that right now. We plan to probably present for maybe half of it or so, maybe a little more, and then with some information and sharing resources and things like that. But then we really want this to be an opportunity for folks to ask questions, get concerns addressed, or anything that comes up. So we'll be going through those today as well. So I'm so excited right now. It looks like we have 223 folks in the webinar. It's so awesome to see so many people interested in learning more about the program and how to support our students collectively. So I'm so glad that you're all here today. So some real quick Zoom etiquette about today. We are recording this. So please mute yourself, keep your camera off so we can just move through everything smoothly. If you do have Zoom technical assistance needs, Christina Winstead, fantastic. Christina Winstead is manning kind of Zoom for us, so please feel free to direct chat her if you have any questions. If you have questions as we go through the webinar, please put them in the chat. We are collecting those questions and then they'll be shared out at the end of the webinar, similar to last year if you were on that last year. Rochelle will ask them out to us. Sean is the one who's collecting them, so it's kind of a team effort today. So we'll be answering those questions verbally at the end of the webinar. We'll try to get them all in our time together today. We'll also make a Q&A answer document at the end of after the webinar that we'll put up on the website that has all the questions that were asked and the answers to them. So you'll be able to get access to those questions in addition to the recording and the deck that we'll use today that will also be posted on the College Bound website. And just a reminder, and you'll hear this probably thousands of times from all of us today, reach out to us with questions or follow up as needed. And again, everything will be posted on the College Bound website within about a week or so. So just quickly, a note about the Washington Student Achievement Council, or Wasac. Many of you may, I'm sure you obviously know College Bound, at least by name. And so the Washington Student Achievement Council is a state agency. College Bound Scholarship is administered by the Student Achievement Council. We are an agency focused on equity, educational attainment, and opportunities for all students and for all kinds of education in Washington State. We do this by program administration, such as College Bound, Washington College Grant, things like that, WASFA. Policy, like the Regional Challenge Grant opportunity that's new, college savings programs. We administer the Washington 529 or GET program in the state as well. We're a small but mighty agency. We have about 120 staff located mostly in the Olympia area, but we've had expansion around the state as well. So that's a little bit just quickly about the Student Achievement Council. So if you ever, get something from Wasac, it's about, you can know who we are and what we're doing. Just some key takeaways about what we're going to be talking about today. We'll be talking about the College Bound auto enrollment that was passed last year, what that means, what it is, what it isn't, and an overview of College Bound in general. We'll talk about resources available for support, both from Wasac and our fantastic colleagues at the College Success Foundation and the Washington College Access Network, as well as other resources available as well. And then throughout, we'll be talking about what are our next steps? Like, what do we do once students are auto-enrolled as a state? How can we help those students know about the opportunity and access it as they move forward? So more to come on all of that over the next little bit here. That's what our goals are for today. So I'm going to start quickly with talking about Essb 5321, if you're keeping track of the legislative bills. 5321 from 2021 was the bill sponsored by Senator Nobles that changed College Bound, that changed it for so many students. It's so impactful to think about just, that the bill could have such an impact on so many students. It was effective immediately when it was signed last summer. It also had a retroactive clause that brought it back to the 2019-2020 year. We actually had most of those eligible students though already, because if some of you recall, the governor wrote a proclamation in December of 2020, feels like many more years ago than just a couple, right? But suspending temporarily the requirement for signatures for College Bound. So that's kind of what kicked everything off. We got all of the information for eligible the ability to auto enroll eligible students temporarily, and then the bill made it official and final and moving forward. This allows Wasac and OSPI, as I said, to auto enroll eligible students in specific grades for college bound scholarship. And we're going to talk more about that. We're going to go into the details here in a few minutes. So just a quick moment to remind everyone about what the college bound commitment means. And I really like this word commitment around college bound because that's what it is. It's a commitment that if a student, an eligible student who signed up in 7th, 8th, or newly eligible in 9th grade, which we'll get to in a minute, an eligible student signs up at the beginning that they will have, and they complete the pledge, that they will have their average cost of tuition at public rates, fees, and a small book allowance covered by state financial aid, that will happen. That will usually come from several buckets. And I'm sure if we were in a room here, I'd ask how many of you have seen an award letter with, maybe $500 of college bound scholarship on it, and like the whole house goes hands up. That's because most of the college bound commitment usually comes from the Washington College Grant on Students Award Letters. But again, the commitment is that those costs will be covered by state financial aid. Doesn't no matter what type of aid, but that it will be covered. College bound can be used at over 65 2- and 4-year public and private institutions. This includes community and technical colleges, the public 4 years, private 4 years, private to career colleges. There are so many options for students when they're using college bound to really, maximize their future opportunities by getting that credential or degree. So enrolling and receiving in college bound, even with the auto enrollment process, is still a 2-step process. I like to think of it as bookends. Kind of reminds me of bookends to the college bound experience. Step 1 is that now public school students who are eligible for free and reduced price lunch in 7th, 8th, or are newly eligible in 9th grade are automatically enrolled in college bound. They do not need to sign up anymore. That is a thing of the past. They're automatically enrolled in college bound. This is through a partnership with Wasac and OSPI. It's also critical for all of us to know that this is based on district reporting. And so we'll talk a little bit more about the auto enrollment process in a second, but foster youth are automatically enrolled from grade 7 through high school graduation. And that's through a partnership with the Department of Children, Youth, and Families, DCYF. And so we receive, data from DCYF that allows us to auto-enroll youth in state foster care as well. So that's kind of the first step. Again, the big change from 2021 was that students no longer needed to sign a form with their parent or guardian, but they're automatically enrolled in college bound for that step 1. Step 2, not any changes to this step. Students still need to meet the college bound pledge. Just a reminder of what that is. It's a 2.0 or better, no felony convictions, and they must be income eligible when they apply to college. And that's determined by their financial aid application every year starting in senior year. So with a FAFSA or a WASA application. Students must also enroll in college within 1 year of high school graduation. They have 5 years from graduating high school to use 4 years worth of scholarship. So they do have the opportunity to take a gap year at some point in there. It doesn't necessarily have to be right away, but it could be because they have that 1 year before they enroll. A bachelor's degree is the highest degree a student can earn with college bound. Now they can earn an associate's and a bachelor's. They could earn a certificate and a bachelor's if they're within that 5-year window from high school graduation as well. So opportunities, again, a lot of opportunities there for kind of what degree options might exist for students. All right, so how does the auto enrollment process work? This is usually the big question, and for many of you, if you attended last year's webinar, some of these slides are going to probably look really familiar. That's because I wanted to revisit them and make sure we're all on the same page and make sure understanding how the auto enrollment process works. The focus is on public school students. That's who OSPI has data on, and the data exchange and access to the eligibility data. If you're working with students at a private school or in a homeschool program, please have them contact our office. We will work with them. Absolutely. We've done some outreach to private schools as well to make sure that those students know about the opportunity as well. There are many ways a student can be noted as free and reduced price lunch eligible. More on that in the next slide. Some of you may remember this fun slide that's coming up. One obvious way, though, is the free and reduced price lunch application. If a school or district doesn't do free and reduced price lunch applications, let's say they don't participate in the USDA program, or they're a community eligible program school, meaning that all students eat for free regardless of income eligibility, districts are still usually needing to report data to OSPI on income eligibility using what's called a family income survey. And so that's what will determine data for folks who or schools who may not use the free and reduced price lunch application. There's also a process at every district called direct certification that feeds in data from many other sources in program eligibility, from like DSHS, meaning SNAP, TANF, etc. Again, we'll have more on that that in the next slide. Data is not available for an academic year till later in the fall. Districts and schools report data monthly to OSPI, usually beginning in beginning in October of every year. Thus, we would begin to get data from that academic year in November every year on a monthly basis, usually around the first of the month. And the question a lot that we get is, how do students, know about College Bound? We're going to talk more a little bit about that later, but Wasac, we mail certificates to students and families, but we don't automatically get their contact information. OSPI doesn't have that. Districts do not report that to OSPI, and thus they can't share that with us. And my colleague Pablo is going to talk a little bit more about this later. But we need your help in updating addresses and contact information so that students can receive their certificate and know about the opportunity. Okay, next slide. This is my favorite slide. This is an illustration of the free and reduced price lunch data source that I mentioned a few times before. This is courtesy of OSPI, and I think it's really helpful because it's meant to show that there are numerous sources of collecting student eligibility for free and reduced price lunch that will be used for the College Bound auto enrollment process. So it's not just the application, it's not just the family income survey. Those are critically important, though. If your district or school does those, again, that will get in there. But there's also the direct certification, there's the foster care program that we have with DCYF, migrant coordinators, all of that again helps make sure that all eligible students are included in the auto enrollment process. So again, we'll post this slide. You don't have to take a picture of it or jot notes on it. We'll post the deck and go from there after the presentation. But I'm going to turn it over now to my colleague, Pablo Rodriguez, who's going to talk a bit more about timeline.
Thank you, Sarah. It's nice to have you all join us today. I'm going to be speaking a little more about our secure online portal. You can log into the portal now since there are already students in there. These would be your 8th graders that were enrolled last year as 7th graders, as well as all high school students that were previously enrolled in the program. In November of this year, around the middle of November, is when we anticipate your newly eligible CBS students to start showing up in the portal. These would be any eligible 7th, 8th, or newly eligible 9th graders that have been enrolled since the start of this school year. We've had questions in the past for clarification on what makes a 9th grader newly eligible. And the 3 requirements are: they must be enrolled in a Washington school in 7th or 8th grade, not be income eligible for free or reduced price lunch in 7th or 8th grade, and then newly income eligible for free or reduced price lunch in 9th grade. This is the only way that 9th graders qualify for the scholarship for those that don't fall within our foster youth population. Unfortunately, after June 30th, we cannot create CBS applications for 8th graders that did attend a Washington middle school and were income eligible for FERPL. However, they could still qualify for the Washington College Grant. After November, we receive newly eligible students from OSPI monthly. Next slide, please. Inside our College Bound portal, we have the toolbox, which can be used for tracking student progress, editing student information, downloading your up-to-the-minute College Bound reports, and checking FAFSA completion status for College Bound seniors. However, it cannot be used to create new student applications. Students and their families can opt out of the CBS at any time for any reason, so those students may disappear from your list. They can contact our office if they mistakenly opt out or change their mind, but they have to stay within their 7th and 8th grade year window. Otherwise, the change is permanent. When accessing your list of CBS students in the portal, we encourage you to use it as a reference to gauge which students you can discuss CBS with, sharing updates and any other news related to the scholarship, rather than using this list and discussing College Bound with students you believe should be College Bound but aren't. This is because we want to avoid having school staff asking students if they're income eligible or if they meet the GPA requirements or any other sensitive information to verify why a student whom they believe should be qualified isn't on your list. The best way to be sure all eligible students are auto-enrolled in the College Bound Scholarship Program is to have the family apply for free or reduced price lunch through the school. The student will then be entered once we receive their information from OSPI. If the students are already noted as eligible for FERPL, ensure that they have filled out the appropriate paperwork and are being reported correctly to OSPI. We send College Bound certificates and letters to each student after they are auto-enrolled, along with program news and pertinent updates to students as they move throughout high school. So we encourage staff to check your list of CBS students in the portal monthly, because we need the help of our school and district staff with updating contact information for both middle and high school students, since as Sarah said, districts don't report that to OSPI. It's not part of the reporting system that OSPI collects. So we rely on schools to enter that information for us. Another reason why checking into the portal every month is best practice is because the longer you go without reviewing your list of CBS students, the higher likelihood there is for your list of students with a bad address to increase. And if that number gets too high, it may become time consuming later on to make the changes. So please check and use your list often. Next slide, please. As previously mentioned, we send out certificates to our newly enrolled CBS students every month, but we're also able to resend these certificates to any student who has lost theirs or requests a new one. We cannot send school staff blank certificates because they're not meant to be passed out. They're always meant to display the student's name that it's belonging to. If a student is requesting to have their certificate resent, school staff or students and legal guardians can contact our office and we will remail them theirs. Unfortunately, we can't send these certificates via email and they take roughly between 6 to 8 weeks to arrive. The certificate is not needed to receive the scholarship and does not guarantee that the student will receive the scholarship. To do so, they must meet the pledge requirements. We've also worked on additional chains of communication between us and our CBS students by creating mailings specific to their grade levels. We have postcards we send to our freshmen, encouraging them to consider going to college and highlighting the different paths and options they have when considering what form of higher education is most practical for them. We also use this opportunity to remind them of the pledge requirements that need to be fulfilled to obtain the College Bound Scholarship. Our sophomore and junior postcards share the same information, but also introduces them to Otterbot, a free texting service to support high school students receiving the College Bound Scholarship, which my colleague Kathy will share more information on later. And in the springtime, we send out FAFSA completion reminder postcards to our CBS seniors. Additionally, we're always considering new ways to reach out to students and school staff to remind them that we're always here to help and support them in any way that we know how. And sometimes that's as simple as reminding students that we haven't forgotten about them, which is one of our main focuses when creating campaigns. We're also trying to find more ways to collaborate with our private schools. Last year, we had a mailing that we created to introduce our program and resources to all private middle and high schools in the state, sharing with them that although their students aren't automatically enrolled, they can still qualify. And if they need to have an application started, they can simply contact our office and we can assist with that. We're currently working on collecting updated student contact information to funnel this into Otterbot. We're focused on obtaining student information and not the parent or legal guardians, because in the future, we're hoping to expand our Otterbot platform and include a parent bot dedicated to answering questions from the parent's perspective. For current adults using Otterbot, don't worry about having them unsubscribe. They can continue to use the bot and ask it questions, but it'll continue to respond as if it's speaking to a student. And lastly, I just wanted to introduce myself and give everyone a face to connect the name to, because you may be seeing, if you haven't already, an email from me regarding some bad address updates. I am a good point of contact along with my colleague, Rochelle Weiss, if you have any questions pertaining to the CBS enrollment process or want to touch base on a student's application status. But specifically for any questions or help with bad address uploads, I am here to support you with that. I'll share my contact information in the chat here shortly, but before I do, I'm going to hand it over to the next presenter from College Success Foundation. Here's Carrie.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yeah, we can
We
hear you.
can, Carrie, yeah.
Okay. All right, hi everyone. My name is Carrie Morrison. Again, I'm with the College Success Foundation, College Bound Regional Officer, and we also have Tracy on this call today. So I want to talk just a little bit about the College Success Foundation, specifically the WACAN team. So just to be clear, there is a little bit of confusion about CSF versus WACAN, and essentially WACAN falls under the umbrella of the College Success Foundation. So for those of you who are very familiar with the WACAN brand, that's the Washington College Access Network. We are part of that team, but we are also employed by the College Success Foundation, and we work very closely with Wasac. So just a little bit about us. We have essentially two parts to our job. So we are contracted with OSPI to do essentially two things. We're contracted to raise college-bound scholarship awareness, and we are also contracted to help increase FAFSA and WASFA rates. So those are essentially the two aspects of our job. A little bit about what we do with college-bound. So assisting students who are college-bound eligible is our #1 priority, and we do this by hosting and co-hosting presentations, both in person and virtually, for students who may be eligible for the CBS in middle school and upon high school graduation. We provide trainings, workshops, and updates to school staff and community members who work with CBS eligible students. Tracy will talk a little bit more about some of our community-based partners. Directing students, families, and school staff and partners to helpful resources. A lot of those resources live on the Wasac website. So we do a lot of directing for folks to those resources. We do have some resources on our own website, but a lot of what we use, especially portal access, lives on the Wasac website. So that's why we do work so closely with our Wasac counterparts. We also assist school staff with the College Bound portal, so technical assistance is a big part of our job. So if you are ever having issues with that, please reach out to us and we can help you through with any very technical questions or any kind of abnormalities that you may be experiencing. We may have to engage our partners over at Wasac. And then we also work very hard to increase FAFSA WASFA rates. As most people who work over at Wasac and at CSF know, FAFSA WASFA rates have remained pretty steady over the last few years. So we are trying to raise those across the board. So we do work hard to increase those completion rates by, again, doing a lot of similar things that we do with the CBS. We host and co-host completion events for students and families, provide in-person and virtual presentations, trainings, workshops to students, families, school staff, and our community partners. We do assist school staff with the FAFSA WASFA portal as well. And we also guide students to helpful resources and tools such as the Otterbot and the Financial Aid Calculator, both of which can be found on Wasac's website. So essentially what we do on the WACAN team at CSF is we do strive to support post-secondary access projects and initiatives that commit to increasing post-secondary completion rates for low-income first-gen students and students of color. That is our mission for the WACAN team specifically. And Sarah, can you go to the next slide? Thank you. So a little bit more about partnering with us. So our staff can help with a wide variety of student engagement and financial aid campaigns. So we do help to create, support, and collaborate on financial aid events. Financial aid advising day is a big one these days. So we are frequently asked to help out with that because FAFSA and WASFA preparation is a big part of it. Provide staff training opportunities for schools and organizations. We're very busy gearing up for that, especially coming into October as soon as the FAFSA and WASFA opens up on October 1. Supporting students and families with one-to-one group FAFSA or WASFA filing support. Creating ways to increase career training and college going expectations in schools and communities. So that is a kind of a part of our job that's not necessarily part of our contract, but we do it anyway because we really can't help counselors and other school staff raise awareness of opportunities for students, for post-secondary opportunities for students without creating that college going culture. So we come up with some creative ways that are specific to schools, to districts, to regions to help kind of foster that culture. And then helping counselors and staff navigate their college-bound scholarship sign-up and FAFSA data portals. So again, we do a lot of work helping folks with any questions that they have related to the portals. We work very closely with the team at Wasac for, like I mentioned before, anything that comes up that is a little bit unusual, that's outside our realm of expertise, but we can at least get you moving in that process. A good way to think about our team, our WACAN team, is WASAC are the administrators of the college-bound scholarship. We are essentially the boots on the ground. So it's really important for us to go out as much as we possibly can to the schools in our regions. However, our regions are very big, which Tracy will point out in just another couple slides. So we do the very best we can, but thank goodness we have virtual options as well too for the schools that are just a little bit harder to get to. So I will go ahead and pass it over to Tracy to talk a little bit more about our regions and our partnerships, and also provide you with some contact info.
Thank you, Carrie. So for those of you who joined late, my name is Tracy Jeanette Gasca, and I'm also part of the WACAN CSF team. Similar to what Carrie was saying, a lot of our work really is able to be completed with some of our key partnerships. Obviously, this does include our school staff, so school districts, high schools, middle schools, but some of our other key partnerships within our regions can look very different. And so these are just some of the ones that we wanted to point out just to kind of give you a bigger picture of how we might complete college-bound scholarship information nights or FAFSA completion. Some of our key partners are Washington STEM networks. They also have some all over the state. And so depending on our region, we'll go ahead and partner with them for various events to target our high schools for financial aid completion events. We also have Washington Gear Up programs all over the state of Washington. So some of our regions do work closely with some of these Gear Up groups. Obviously, we're all within education, and so local community colleges, public, private universities are two key partnerships, right? Mostly for the FAFSA WASFA completion that begins in October. A lot of times you might see us at a local community college event or being part of public or private university financial aid presentations, just because, as Carrie mentioned, sometimes we actually are the boots on the ground to do this work. So we very much help with completion rates. Some other really cool community-based organizations that might do financial aid completion within our regions are like Futures Northwest is located in the Northwest Coastal. We have Native Project, Next Generation Zone. We have Graduate Strong in Kitsap County. And all of this list is just a really short way for us to kind of give you an idea of some of our other key partners in the region. And so if you are from one of these community-based organizations or from a statewide partner, then maybe you want to reach out to your CBRO to see if these are some things you want to partner together if you already have upcoming events. Next slide, please, Sarah. One of the other really big updates we wanted to give you is we have some website updates. So our website, here's kind of a snippet screenshot of what it looks like now. Within the last few months, we have transitioned from, we used to have our own WACAN website that I know many of you have used, for those of you who have been doing college-bound work for several years now. We just had this new change. I'm going to say probably this summer, so it is very recent. You can find us on the College Success Foundation website. Under Partnerships and Initiatives, you'll go ahead and find our homepage. We are still adding some of our resources, but our college knowledge materials are located here, similar to how they were previously. You can get them as an entire notebook. You can space it out by topics, or you can space it out by grade. And so you can find that on here. And next slide, please. And last but not least, we wanted to share with you our map and our college-bound regional officers. As Carrie mentioned, you can see that there are only 5 of us regionally for the entire state. And so here's kind of a good idea for you to get our information so you kind of know who your CBRO is based on your regions. And so this is kind of the perfect way for you to figure out who your contact person is. We're really, really excited to be doing this work with you all, and we hope to connect with you if we have not yet. We will also be part of the Q&A at the end of this presentation, so feel free to type in any questions in the chat, specifically directed at CBROs. We will be able to answer those. And I believe this PowerPoint will be available on Wasac within a week, as well as the recording. So you will have access to our contact information as well. And Sarah, I'll pass it on to you.
Thank you so much, Carrie and Tracy, for sharing important resources at the College Success Foundation. Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Kathy, and I have the privilege to share with you some of the Wasac resources that we have. So remember, there are lots of resources for students in Washington to access funding opportunities to pursue their education. And I'm really excited to share with you just some of the resources we have available to best support you, your colleagues, and the students and families you serve. So whether you are a middle school counselor, a high school counselor, or a college access professional, through our partnerships, we have specific resources and trainings that are open to you, open to everyone, and we highly encourage you to attend these upcoming sessions to either learn more or brush up on your current knowledge in the areas of financial aid and college readiness. Next slide, please. Otterbot. Okay, I love Otterbot. It is an amazing student resource that we started a few years ago, and it's a texting resource that we have available. And throughout the year, Wasac is texting junior and senior college-bound students. That's approximately 15,000 students in each class. And we provide information on financial aid awareness and completion, college readiness support, due dates and reminders. And again, Otterbot is a free texting service, and it's open to other students outside of college bound as well. The great thing about Otterbot is that students can opt in at any time, and they can access this bot 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, simply by texting Hi Otter to the phone number listed on this slide. So a great resource to share, especially with your juniors and seniors in high school. And next slide, please. And then speaking about the College Bound Scholarship, on our webpage, I don't know if you've had a chance to take a look at it recently, but Pablo has recently updated the middle school flyer that is now available in 13 languages for you to print and share with your students. And we also have our high school brochure and high school intro flyer. And the great thing about our webpage is that you can always order college-bound swag and other materials for free on our webpage. And we have the college-bound material order form online. The other cool thing that I just wanted to highlight for this year was that if you actually check out our college-bound material order form online, for all of you visual learners out there, Pablo has recently updated the material order form to include images of our promotional resources. So feel free to check it out yourself. Next slide, please. So the 12th year campaign, the members on our team, Sam and Christina, they're doing amazing work leading this, the 12th year campaign on our team. So I just wanted to share with you all another great resource, especially for our high school counselors and our college access professionals. And it can be found on our 12th year campaign website. And as you can see, there's a QR code here, so feel free to access this at any time. But really what the 12th year campaign is that it boosts college and financial aid application rates in Washington. And we do this by offering, and again, partnering with other organizations. And we do this by offering free trainings to those who are working with high school seniors and their families. We offer online financial aid completion events, which I will talk about more in the next slide. And last but not least, we provide free printed and digital resources. The cute little images you see below are our postcards, and they're available in 5 different languages, but this shows you just a view of what we have available. And these postcards provides a list of documents to students who need to complete a financial aid application and what that entails. The other image you see on this slide is that you can also order our junior senior student workbook, which is an awesome guide for students to navigate college admissions and financial aid. We really want to help you lighten the load this year because we had several years, of many challenges and transitions. And so anything we can do to provide you with more information or support, like Sarah said earlier in this presentation, we are here and our partners here to help you with this work. And next slide, please. Okay, just a little bit more about the 12th year campaign financial aid completion nights for students and their families. This is a really unique gathering. And we have a few coming up within the next couple of months. So again, please be sure to check out the links that we have provided and help us spread the word to students so they can join us for free virtual financial aid assistance. It is on a first come, first served basis, and we can have up to 500 students at each online event. The next event that's coming up is on October 19th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. And we always welcome volunteers from our communities across Washington state to help at these events. So as you can see from the box over to the side, some of the volunteer positions we are seeking are that we need help with would be on financial aid basic support, college admissions assistance, scholarship navigator, and language translator. So if you are interested or you've done this before, thank you so much for your work, and we'd love to have you back again. Again, feel free to check out and sign up by clicking the link below. And if students can and their families, they can actually register for the link over to the left. And next slide, please. Thank you. So Aim Higher Washington trainings, whether you are new to financial aid, to the financial aid world, or need a refresher, these trainings are for you. And we do this in partnership as we offer the Aim Higher Washington trainings, where you can learn more about financial aid basics and navigation and how to help your students and their families with the 2023-2024 FAFSA and WASFA. So again, we have these QR codes available and it's all organized. So if you can't make it to one that's coming up, feel free to check out our schedule. But this is such a great event and very informative. Next slide, please. Okay, last but certainly not least, our Wasac Wednesdays. Drop by with a cup of coffee or tea in hand at our virtual gathering on Wednesday of every month from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. for our Wasac Wednesdays, where our College Access Initiatives team can help answer any and all questions related to financial aid, the College Bound Scholarship, the College Bound online portal, and Otterbot. Those are just a few topics that we discuss. So Wasac Wednesdays are open to middle school and high school counselors and college access professionals. And we honestly would love to have you join us at our next event, which is next Wednesday morning for our kickoff session of the year. And just a little note for those who couldn't attend today's webinar, we will be providing a brief overview of the College Bound Scholarship Updates webinar at next week's Wasac Wednesday. So we invite you to come back to that if you need a refresher, or to invite your colleagues who weren't able to make it today. And next slide, please. I know I said last but not least, but this really is the last slide here. So you heard it from us again and over again. Our team is here to support you and your communities. And we really look forward to connecting with counselors and college access professionals throughout this school year. If you have any questions, you're always welcome to contact us via email that you see on here, phone. And also our website houses many of the resources and the information that were shared with you earlier in today's presentation. And a quick plug and a quick note, if you have not already signed up for our College Bound e-newsletter, please do yourselves a favor and click on the link, which I will add to the chat in just a second, so that you can sign up and receive important email reminders and information on the College Bound Scholarship, financial aid information, and college readiness resources as well. So that way you can share with your students and families. So again, thank you so much for being here. And we are so excited to support you and your students. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Sarah, who will lead us in the next part of our webinar. Thank you all.
Thanks, Kathy, and thanks to all the other presenters as well. As we're going to wrap up the presentation section of this webinar, I just want to kind of end on one note, the why behind auto-enrollment for College Bound being so important. Is that, I know, especially if you're in the middle school, I know that so many of our middle school colleagues worked so hard getting forms, getting students to complete with so many things going on in their lives and families' lives, and trying to get those forms in. But we were always about, around 70% of the state, which was still about 30,000 students that were signing up every year. But that meant about 10,000 students were missing out on the opportunity. And so I always kind of look at the why behind this is really being twofold. One, all eligible students can be signed up for College Bound and have access to College Bound Scholarship. And two, both our colleagues in the middle schools and high schools and community-based organizations, us, as you heard, with all these resources and kind of reshifting our focus in different areas, can focus on having conversations with students about their plans, about the process of college application, or what college is like, or financial aid access is there for them, rather than having to chase down a form. And so it's to me, those two are the really exciting pieces, is that students won't miss out on an opportunity that they're eligible for, and that all the folks that I know are so hardworking in our middle and high schools around the state can really refocus that time and that energy around having college preparedness and those educational conversations, rather than it being about a form. So I'm so excited that auto enrollment is here. I'm so excited that we were able to share with you all today. And I think I'm going to ask Rochelle to come online. I mean, not online, she's obviously online, but to come on screen maybe. And let's see where we are with questions. Rochelle, are we ready to ask some questions? We've got about 38 minutes left.
Hi, Sarah. Yes, we
Hey
have
there.
some questions. They're very good questions.
Awesome.
So hopefully if you're the person that asked the question and I'm not quite asking it correctly, please be sure to put in the chat what, if we're not quite getting it. So the first question we have is, how are schools notified when students in the CB program transfer into a new school?
Can you ask the first part of that? How are who notified?
How are schools, I'm sorry, Sarah, how are schools notified when students in the CB program transfer into a new school?
Okay, cool. Thank you. I was thinking it was going in one direction, so I started to think about, okay, but I got it. And so it's all about district reporting and where students are enrolled at. And so if a student transfers to a different school, the CEDARS administrator or the registrar and the CEDARS administrator at that school should be working together to report that student's enrollment up to OSPI. And then when it should match to OSPI at OSPI and come to us as well. We get a weekly demographic file update from OSPI that updates school enrollment, GPA, those kinds of things. And so it might not happen like right away, within a week, but we do get those weekly files. So if you're not seeing a student that you feel likely was signed up for college bound or should be college bound, I would check. First, you can always contact us to make sure that there's nothing wrong on the back end or anything like that, but also check with the school district CEDARS, CEDARS, which is not the tree. It's an acronym for basically, I don't remember the full name, but the data reporting up to OSPI. So check with them first, but that's how we get it, is through the OSPI transfer.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah.
And on that note, we have a couple similar questions that kind of come off of that question. So what do we do for students on our list that have moved out of district?
Rochelle, you mind answering that one?
Yeah, so again, it's the same thing. Unfortunately, we aren't able to override the OSPI data, but when OSPI gets the information that the student is no longer at your school, that will they'll get transferred to the correct school if they're within our state. Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think if they move out of state, it still comes off, or maybe Sean wants to chime in on that. I'm not sure that they still come off the list if they do move out of state.
I believe it actually shows with the most recent enrollment, because it will have an enrollment code that shows that they transferred out of state. Okay.
Yeah. So unfortunately, we can't remove them, but if they're, you can just kind of ignore them if they're on your list. And I apologize if it's kind of inconvenient to have them on there. But as Sarah said, once we get updated data, that should clean up your list as much as possible. So the other question we have is, well, I guess it's the same thing. If a student withdraws, how do you take them off our list? So same thing, that answers that same question. That OSPI will update it. Yeah, the CEDARS code. All right, the next question is, income eligibility requirements are during the senior year and not at the time of enrollment. Is this correct?
I'm assuming we're talking about financial aid applications.
Yes, so they did ask, the second part of that question was, is this verified with their FAFSA or WASFA? So, yeah, so great question. And so the financial aid application, the FAFSA or the WASFA, which do this similarly, students need to file them starting in their senior year, but the income eligibility is actually from a couple years before, because it uses what you may have heard the term prior year. So for example, for the upcoming, Christina, correct me if I'm wrong here, for the upcoming financial aid application, the 23-24, so that the one that students are going to be able to start filing on Saturday. Yay! Saturday, financial aid season is officially open. So that application for next year, next fall, for students going to college next fall, it's going to be based on 2021 taxes. So it's not based on senior year finances for the first year of college. So it's always a little bit behind, if you will. Now, we know that, there are obviously families, like situations change. I'm assuming I got it right if Christina's not jumping on, so I'm going to move on.
That is 100% correct. Yes.
Okay, thanks, Christina. And so it's hard to keep the year straight, right? And so with with family situations changing, there a lot can happen in a couple years. Families, lose their jobs, medical expenses, or new family situation. Always encourage students to reach out to their financial aid office to make sure that if there's an appeal that they can do, to make sure they get reviewed if needed.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah.
Okay, the next question is, how are students being auto-enrolled if their family is not enrolled in any public assistance programs and have not confirmed their income on free and reduced lunch sign up?
Yeah, great question. If they're not enrolled in any kind of like SNAP or TANF or anything like that, or or noted as a homeless youth or migrant family, if they don't do the free and reduced price lunch application, then there's no way that anyone would know that they're eligible. And so that's why the importance of doing that free and reduced price lunch application, or the family income survey, or if they don't want to, then contacting our office. We can talk to them about the importance of doing that to get auto enrolled into College Bound. But yeah, it is an automatic enrollment, and so students have to be noted at some point as being income eligible.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, the next question is, do students need to be enrolled in a Washington State school during 7th and 8th grade to be enrolled, or is it one, can it just be one or the other?
One or the other. And just a reminder, Rochelle, I'm just going to throw in a plug here, reminder here, that we will post the questions, like these questions and answers, on the website as well. So you don't need to, maybe if you're furiously writing down, we'll post them on the website. So just a reminder.
Okay, the next one is, if a district is a community eligible district, is the survey given to individual students, or is the survey given to a sample, such as the sample results used for anyone in the district?
Yeah, so it's given to everybody. It's mailed home. It may be given out at conferences or classes. It just depends on the district, but it is given to every individual student. I know, like my son's district, we got it in the mail. I know that I've heard others, do it at like the back to school night, returning it, those kind of things. So it's given to every student.
Yeah, so we want to make sure we encourage families to fill that out, even if they're not free and reduced lunch eligible.
Yeah, and that's really important. The family income survey, I mean, I know that, districts will also say, I've heard districts say this, and OSPI say this, is that if community eligibility program schools have to, the reason they're showing that they're part of that program is that they've shown that they have a certain level of free and reduced price lunch eligible students. And so if they don't have that data to move forward, then they may not be able to be a community eligible school in the future. And so it's really important to, capture that information to maintain the school's eligibility so that students can access those services.
Thank you. If a student graduates the year after their graduation, their expected graduation year, can they still qualify?
Yes, absolutely. And so that 4-year, 5-year window I was talking about, the 4-year scholarship within 5 years of high school graduation, based on high school graduation, not when they were maybe supposed to have graduated. So it's based on when they graduate.
Yeah, and that applies if they graduate later or before.
Yes.
So either way. Yeah. Are the class of 2023 and 2024 part of the newly auto-enrolled?
Whoever wrote that testing my year memory. Sean, we were just talking about this the other day. Do you remember the year that's the first year with the auto enrollment program? Was it 2025?
2025, I believe.
Was part of the auto enrollment. However, I believe 23 and 24 were impacted by the governor's proclamation.
Yeah, it's hard to keep them all straight now.
Students kind of, they need a little cheat sheet. Not all necessarily in the 23, 24, but they did have a window where some of those 23, it was like we were able to auto enroll some 9th graders because of the governor's proclamation back in 2020, and 24, class of 24, we were able to do some of those students as 8th graders, but it was during that window. And because we had extended the deadline for students in rulemaking because of the COVID pandemic. So they kind of have a little bit of a special, unique window because of the COVID pandemic and the governor's proclamation timing at the rulemaking process. But 25 is the first class that is like the full on the auto enrollment with the bill.
Thank you. All right, this next one, someone said that there's only one student showing in their high school list in the portal, and it says there is construction right now. So they're wondering if that's normal and if that's okay.
Sean, I saw you come off mute. Do you want to tackle that one?
Yeah, sure. So one of the things is the construction is just referring to when the middle school and high school toolbox kind of came together. It actually doesn't really need to be there. So we are in the process of removing that announcement and updating it with something else. As for your other question, typically OSPI has mentioned that they have enrollment come through CEDARS, and right now districts are still reporting their enrollment. So depending on what district you are in, some districts basically put exit codes when the student leaves from middle school to high school. So they're exited in their 8th grade year, and then when they enter high school, they'll be entered within the new academic year. Other districts will actually remove every student. So at the end of the previous academic year, every student is removed or has an exit code, and then they'll be entered into the following academic year. And so one thing to note is just check in probably in a couple of weeks as more enrollment information comes in. We get weekly imports like Sarah mentioned, and those transfer codes should be removed or the exit codes should be removed, and then it'll say, this is the student who's active at your school. I hope that answered your question.
Thank you, Sean.
Thanks, Sean.
All right, so this one might be for Pablo. I'm not sure, and I'm not sure exactly what they're asking, but someone asked to talk more about the address upload. And then a follow-up question is, where can we find written directions about how to update the addresses?
Yeah, Pablo, do you want to just kind of take that, talk about, a little bit about the address upload process, and then maybe share your resource that you created this past spring or summer?
Yeah, of course. So I guess just to start, you would access your list of bad address, your students on your bad address list by logging into the portal, and you're going to see a box to your right when logging in. It'll give you a count of your full student list and then your bad address list. And then in terms of how to upload that or how to make the changes, you can go about it one of two ways, and it kind of just depends on your own preference, but also on the number of students on your bad address list. If you only have a handful of students, you can filter your data set to where you highlight that you want to see your bad address students, and then individually click edit to make the changes on their applications, and then kind of save it one at a time that way. Or if you have a large number of bad address students, you could use the bulk update feature, which at that point on that same screen where you would have your list of bad address students, you have the option to download those results into a CSV, and then you can just save that Excel file anywhere on your computer to work on it whenever you have some time, and kind of follow along each row to make sure that the address is either correct or if it needs to be updating to update it. Once you have that Excel sheet pretty finalized, then you can just make that upload and it'll make all the changes for all of your students in theory. And then we do have written directions. We created a frequently asked document specifically designed to target the bulk update tool and just the bad address changes, all that update. So I encourage you all to check it out. It's on our website under the information for high school or middle school counselors and staff. And I'm sure that there will be some questions that might have been asked that are in there. So I do recommend looking over there.
Thank you, Pablo.
Thanks, Pablo.
Okay, the next question is, how long does it take to receive the junior, senior books once they're ordered?
Great
Okay.
question.
That
Christina,
one's
please.
for me.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Twofold. So it's going to be 2 to 3 weeks. But Robin, I looked at your order this morning that you put in, and I already started putting those orders in because the workbooks come from a different place, and the postcards we manually pack with all your other stuff. So I already put your workbook order in, and you should see it in about a week. And so those of you who ordered up until before this presentation, your workbook should be available within the next week or so. But it takes a couple weeks sometimes with shipping when we have a lot of orders come in. Like today, we'll have a lot of orders come in. So we ask for your patience as we process those orders. You're welcome, Robin.
Thanks, Christina.
Thanks, Christina. The next question is, when will this slide deck be available, and will you send it directly to us?
Yeah, great question. So it'll be posted on the College Bound website on the upper right-hand side. Right now, we have some resources from last year's webinar. So we posted there. Our goal is next Tuesday as we work on an update document. Rochelle, we could certainly do a note out to via Gov Delivery. Let's make a note of that to let folks know when it's updated.
Okay.
Yeah,
I can do that. Let me write that down right now.
Great. Yeah, that way we can make sure that people who attend know it's up there, and those who weren't able to attend can access it'll be the recording, the slide deck, and then the Q&A document as well within a week.
Okay. All right, the next question is there a link for students to register for the FAFSA completion event?
Yes, there is. And I put it in the chat. And I will re-put it in again as well. So students can find all of the events that are hosted by 12th year and our amazing partners by going to this link here. And it'll be constantly updated as more events are provided either through the 12th year campaign or through our partners.
Christina, do you mind also putting the apply wasac.wa.gov/apply page in the chat? Because that page also it links off to that document.
Of
course. So
course.
that way, like it's just an easier link to remember than the big Google Doc too. So.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Christina.
Thank you. Thanks, Christina.
The next question is, if families do not fill out the free and reduced lunch forms or the family income survey, can they still apply online through the College Bound website?
No, I guess just say if they are a public school student, it's the auto enrollment process. If they should contact us if there's like some really significant reason why they can't or won't or whatever the case is to it, we can talk through them. But really the main route is that auto enrollment process. Now, if they're a private school student, because they're not auto enrolled, we can also work with them on an application as well. So please have them contact us in that sense.
Thank you. All right, the next one is, who is the rep for Southwest Washington? And I'm assuming that's the CSF rep.
Yeah, does Tracy or Carrie want to take that one? Or I can go back to the slide if that would be helpful.
Carrie, is that you?
For Southwest? No, I'm Northeast and North Central. So Southwest now, I believe, is Kennedy. Is that correct?
Yeah, Southwest is Kennedy Coleman.
Yeah, she's covering Southwest and then South Puget Sound, I believe, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and drop her email in the chat.
Yeah, Kennedy is new to our team. She's been on for, I think, about a month now. So yeah, if you are wanting to reach out to her, please do. She'll be more than happy to chat with you.
Thank you, Carrie. And thank you, Tracy. The next question, and this might be for Pablo. I tried updating the bad address contacts for a few students in my toolbox, but the students are still listed as bad address after I do that. Why is that?
Yeah, I think there could be a few reasons for that. One can be sometimes the physical address and the mailing address are not the same. And so this means like looking for a PO box. Also, we've noticed in the past that the portal is kind of like tricky. And so it wants you to completely erase all of the fields that are in there and then re-enter them. Sometimes that's a way of kind of like reprogramming it to work. And then we also encourage you to just verify with your students or schools to see if maybe there was a change along the way or a relocation along the way that just may have been missed. If after all of that, the address is still correct, then you can just contact our office again and we will manually reconcile the bad address, and that should hopefully fix those students.
Thank you, Pablo.
Thanks, Pablo.
How do other high schools communicate with individual students about the college-bound scholarship? So I think they're looking for strategies, like how to reach out to their students.
Yeah, Christina or Carrie or Tracy, maybe Carrie or Tracy, if you have any recommendations from what you've worked with, if that you'd want to share from other schools maybe, or your knowledge base as well, I'm happy to, would be great if you could share.
I'm sorry, could you just repeat the question real quick?
Yeah, sure. How do high schools, excuse me, let me go back to my list here. How do high schools communicate with individual students about college bound? So I'm assuming there are college bound students that are in their portal. How do they reach out to them?
Yes, so it's different for, it's kind of up to counselors how they want to communicate with their students. I would say every counselor is a little different. I think a lot of them, at least in my experience, a lot of counselors reach out in person. A lot of counselors reach out by phone, by email. Yeah, it really just depends on how it works best for that particular counselor in their particular school. I have some counselors that cover multiple schools in districts, just because they're those more rural districts. And then I have some counselors that have a whole lot of kids at a single high school that's a really big high school. So it just kind of depends on what works best for them. And then how we communicate with counselors too, just kind of depends on what works best for the particular CBRO in their particular region. So it's not even really a standard across the board approach for us either. It just kind of depends on what works best for us. In my region, for instance, I have a lot of schools in rural areas. So I do a lot of reaching out. I do a lot of virtual connections, just because unfortunately I don't have the budget to be able to go physically to all the schools that I would really love to. So but we do the best we can with what we have, and it just kind of depends on what works best for everyone. That's why we really try hard to tailor our approach according to what school counselors need and what schools need.
Thank you, Carrie.
I'm also going to add to that, for the specific strategies on things I've seen within my region. We have one school district that works closely with the local community college, and they host a college bound night for all of their students in the district. And so this is Edmonds School District with Edmonds Community College. I've worked with schools up in Bellingham that counselors just email all of their college bound students, and it'll be like a short 10 to 15 minutes during like their lunchtime, where they'll go ahead and go over like, oh, you're a college bound student, similar to, you know, a repledge event. Other schools will go ahead and work with classrooms such as like Avid or mostly Avid, to kind of go in and do a college bound and scholarship presentation, so that they're sharing, you know, not only college bound, but they'll talk about other scholarships and or financial aid. So it kind of depends on the school atmosphere and whatever the counselor wants to do. I've also seen people do specific evening nights for their parents and college bound students in their specific building, and this can happen for the middle school and high school level. It really just depends on capacity. And so those are, hopefully that kind of answers your question on like, what do I do? Those are some things I've seen across the region.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thanks, Tracy.
Okay, the next question is, now I lost track of where I was. What type of information, documents, brochures, that sort of thing, should I give to eligible families and students in the middle school, since an application isn't necessary anymore? Or does College Bound send all necessary documents to eligible students once they are enrolled?
So a couple of great question. I think it's a yes and to that.
Yeah.
So on the College Bound website, which is listed right on the screen, under middle school resources, we have an introductory College Bound flyer. that is available in 13 languages. There are new languages from what's been available in the past, so check it out. Even if you've been doing this a while, there's some new languages. And so that flyer is what I would absolutely recommend giving out to middle school families, because it references needing to, how you're eligible, how you're auto-enrolled. So that's a fantastic resource. And then the other one that I would mention, you asked about, do we send information once they're enrolled? Once we have their address from you all, thank you again. Yes, we do. We send certificates and a letter to every college-bound auto-enrolled student. And so I think it's important to do both, though, because the first one, especially to some of the earlier questions around, what if a student's not applying for free and reduced price lunch or filling out the income survey or whatever the case may be, that flyer references the importance of needing to do that to be auto-enrolled for college bound. And so both of those, we do both. I recommend do both. The middle school flyer in the 13 languages available online. I will also say, if there's a language that you have a need for that you don't see, please let us know. We want to make sure that you have what you need. And then also we will send information once a student's enrolled.
And that's why it's really important to get those bad addresses fixed so that we can get that information out to our students. So we ask that you help us with that. And again, if you guys have any questions about that, reach out to Pablo or directly to College Bound. The next question is, Otterbot asks a lot of personal information from students. How do we assume or assure them that it's confidential and okay to supply it?
Yeah, that's a great question. Otterbot, I mean, we as a state agency and our contractor, our vendor that we use, we have, signed contracts. They have a data security in place, data security policies, as well as infrastructure to support that. Many colleges around the state actually use the same vendor that or around the country use the same vendor that we do. So they're not new to the game. They are very experienced and have take data security to heart, as do we at Wasac. And so if a student ever doesn't want to answer something, then they don't have to. That certainly don't have to. But you can assure them that we're making sure that anyone on the Wasac side or the vendor side has to log in, get credentials checked, those kind of things, make sure that they only are seeing data that they need to know for their work purposes.
Thank you.
Sam, were you going to say something else?
Yeah.
I just wanted to also include that we also don't, redistribute the student contact information as done with some other organizations or some processes with regards to like scholarships, for example. That's a very common one where student information will be kind of passed along to scholarship providers. We don't do any of that sort of thing as well.
Thank you, Sam.
Thanks, Sam. Good point.
Yeah. The next question is, so is the family income survey new? Has my district been doing it quietly for years? And who do we go to for more information if our district doesn't seem to be aware of it?
Yeah, so again, the family income survey is only for districts that don't use the free and reduced price lunch application. So that don't participate in free and reduced price lunch, because there are some districts that just don't, not very many, but there are a couple that don't. Or your district or school is a community eligible school, so that everybody eats now for free. For free. And so it's not new. It's been around for at least 8 years. That's how long I've been at Wasac, almost 8 years, wow, at Wasac, working with this stuff. And so it's not new. I would recommend going to maybe like the registrar or the CEDARS administrator, which might be the same person depending on your district. You might also check in with the food nutrition people, depending, again, if you're a free and reduced price lunch school or if you're a community eligibility school. So that's who I'd recommend going to. And then I don't know, Kathy or Christina, if someone, just because I'm sharing my screen, I don't want to be too multitasking here or I'll break something, could look up the family income survey on OSPI's website. I think honestly, if you Google OSPI Family Income Survey, you'll find it, which has like the resources for the Family Income Survey. Maybe we could put a link in the chat if we're able to find that quickly. But I check with like registrar, CEDARS administrator, and then food nutrition people at your school or district.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then I'll just answer this one really quickly. Someone asked again, what do I do with students on my bad address list that are not at my high school? So if they've moved, again, if they've moved out of district, you can just, I mean, if you happen to have a new address, great, go ahead and add it. But if not, you can just ignore them. And again, they should come off your list when they've moved to another district or school.
Yeah, and just to add to that quickly, sorry, if the
No, go
student
ahead.
moves out of state, OSPI will not receive their new enrollment data, but they should come off your list once OSPI has information about them no longer being enrolled at your school. And if the student becomes homeschooled, the student will remain on your list until your school reports them as no longer being enrolled.
Thank you, Pablo.
Thanks, Pablo.
And I think this is the last question. Does pulling a large group together, so this is going to refer to what Carrie and Tracy were talking about and their strategies for reaching out to students. Does pulling a large group together break student confidentiality because they're on the free and reduced lunch list?
Yeah, it's a great question. When students sign up for, let me say this, when students are notified that they are college bound students, we send them a certificate that, tells them, yeah, congratulations, here's the pledge requirements and here's what you'll get and all this stuff. So there's a certificate, but then there's also a letter that states with them that to them, by being auto enrolled, your status will be shared with your school, your college bound status will be shared with your school, and nonprofit organizations, colleges, etc. They can opt out of being college bound if they don't want it to, in general, and they can opt out of having it shared with nonprofits. But if they're we do, that has to be shared with a school because that's the critical information. So they are informed of this, so it doesn't break any confidentiality, and I don't think in that regard, because they are informed of it with the college bound auto enrollment.
And I just want to add to that, I think kind of what Pablo mentioned too, because they have the option to opt out, you want to make sure that you're checking your portal before reaching out to students, because we don't want to tell someone they're college bound when they're not anymore, because they might not know that their parent didn't, opted out of it. And it's very few, but we have had probably I think 10 in the last 2 years that have opted out. So we want to make sure that we're cognizant of that we're not reaching out to students that aren't on the list anymore. So just check your list before reaching out to students. And then it will also say on there, there'll be an alert that says that we can't release to nonprofits too. So
yeah, we get more of those, I think, than the total opt out.
Yeah. So it looks like we had a couple of quick questions. So Can I have a generic copy of the letter that you send to students?
Yeah, we can share that. But can you reach out to us so we can get who you are? Because I don't know, I'm not looking at the chat right now. Could someone put, well, it's right there. It's on the website. If you reach out to College Bound, Rochelle, we can share a PDF of the letter that goes out for folks. Yeah.
Yeah. So just email us at that collegebound@wasac.wa.gov and we can get that to you.
Yep.
And then the next one is, how are schools notified when students in the College Bound program transfer into a new school? Again, the school won't be notified specifically. We will be notified because we'll get the new OSPI data. If you're the new school, then they will transfer to your list when we get that, when they're reported to CEDARS or OSPI.
Yep, so they'd show up on your list.
Mm-hmm.
And that new update happens, I believe, every Monday morning, Sean, right? Monday, the demographic update? Yep, perfect, Monday. So that's every week for students who've been enrolled in the program. Cool.
I
Rochelle,
think that's all the questions. I think all the rest of them, I think some of you asked for some links and some web pages and things like that, and those were answered in the chat.
Great.
If you missed it, please definitely reach out to us again at that collegebound@wasac.wa.gov, and we'll be happy to share any information with you.
Yeah, awesome. And thank you all so much. I mean, right at time. This is great. Love all the questions. So fantastic to hear all of these thoughtful and insightful questions that you all shared with us. Just a reminder that in a week or so, we'll have the PowerPoint, the recording, and the questions that were just asked kind of rolled up into a document and shared that will be posted on the College Bound website, which is listed right there. And always, again, a reminder, any additional questions that come to mind, or you're still not sure about something or looking for something, just reach out. Please email us, call us. We're happy to help get you the answers. And definitely another plug for the newsletter, because we'll send a reminder, hey, this is up now. If you're not on the newsletter yet, you can do that. I think Kathy put it in the chat earlier as well. So
Sarah, we
yeah,
had
go
one
ahead.
quick,
Oh.
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. We had
Sure.
one more question come in.
Okay, put it in.
Yeah. Do you recommend that I call parents and their child to meet with them to discuss the College Bound scholarship?
Yeah, I think that's a great way. I mean, I think if you're, I don't know if you're middle or high school, but especially if you're middle school, it's really, helpful to give them that opportunity to know that this is there for them early, and not having to chase those forms anymore. That was the goal, so that you could, hopefully you would have ability to be more individualized and more, thoughtful than just grabbing a form, right? So which is always hard to do. And so yeah, that would be great. If you're in the high school, I think talking to them about the pledge is always really important, because making sure they understand that they do have to graduate with a 2.0, that they do have to use it within 1 year of high school graduation, no felony, and then how to apply for financial aid. So I think that's a great way to do it. Conferences can be really helpful with that, or if there's student-led conferences or anything like that, for meeting with students and families. Awesome idea.
Thank you.
Cool. All right, well, I think we're at time. Thank you again so much for joining us this afternoon, and I hope you all learned something, and hopefully it was valuable, a way to spend your afternoon with us. Really grateful for you to join us, and have a great rest of the day. Thanks so much.